Good morning, Live Oak. I'm Deacon Rufus L. Hudgens, and our story for today is Improbable Hope.
All right.
It's our Sunday school lesson for today. And if we look at the scriptures, it's coming from Genesis 21, 21st chapter, 8 through the 20th verse. For those Bible scholars that want to break out the Bible. And as I was looking at this story today, they had a unifying principle, and it said people sometimes face situations that feel hopeless. We've all been down that road at one time or another. So, how can people find assurance when the circumstances change? The book of Genesis shows that even though Hagar and Ishmael circumstances changed, God was still with them. Hagar and Ishmael is two of the characters in this lesson today, to include Abraham and Sarah. So, as I said, God was still with them, even though their circumstances changed. You know, we must understand that God's love, His justice, and mercy are available for all people, regardless of their status in society. You can be as big as high as you want to be. It doesn't matter. God does not, I'll say again, He does not. He treats us all the same. Don't care how high you might get in society, but all it takes is one time that you can be knocked down from where you think you're sitting so high. Now, if we can reflect a little bit before we get into the lesson, we see that the year 2020 was said to be a year of unprecedented times and uncertain times. Now, we all can recall it's been some trying 2 years, but 2020 started the whole thing with the coronavirus. You see, people, what they did is they experienced things that was never thought about and certainly had never experienced this kind of thing before. I didn't never think I'd experience something like this, a pandemic. You know, we read in the history books about the plagues and the famine even in the Bible, and what we've had in the United States, TB and all types of fever and all those illness. I did not ever think that I would see a time like this with the virus where people were getting sick and dying. So the year 2020 brought about a shift in the worldview of a lot of people, right? Now, also Christians, now I'm going to tell you about Christians now. They were not exempt from them changes in their lives. It affected everybody. You know, when, what they say, when something happens to some of us, it's supposed to happen to all of us as a unified Christian. You see, these changes made it necessary for them to reevaluate their worldview about things, right? Now, churches were forced to close their doors because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Mhm.
We didn't expect to have our churches closed down.
Mm-mm.
We expected to go to church every Sunday.
Mhm.
We took it for granted, didn't
Yeah.
we? And you can see that it's not the same as coming to the church and uh, having church service with people instead of getting it video, just like we're doing right now. So Christian churches learn the value of technology. Hmm? Start doing it with all the computerized technology that you can find right now as a means of worship and ministry. Still ain't the same as when you're coming to the church. There was a shift in the belief that gathering together in person is necessary for worship. Don't y'all feel better when you got a lot of people around to be able to verse and worship with? You know, I know for me as a teacher, I would like to have people in the front of me so I can get feedback, whether they speak or have that expression on their faces. It doesn't matter. I'm getting some type of feedback. If they frowning as I'm teaching, I know something's wrong. You know, maybe I'm not getting the lesson across to them. So as we start our lesson, we look at today's lesson. We see that Abraham and Sarah were made a promise from God that they would become the parents of a great nation. Now, if y'all know the story, you can say, how can that be? Sarah and Abraham were way too old to have kids. Huh? But God made them that promise, right? Now, this promise was incredible because both Abraham, again, and Sarah was advanced in age, and Sarah was said to be barren. That means she couldn't have any children. Sarah suggested that Abraham should have sex with his slave Hagar to give him a son. You see how God works? Everybody else humanly thought, said, well, you know, he said, God said you're going to have a son, but y'all too old, you know, to have a son. You know, if they'd have told me it's husband, we having a son coming up, I'd fall out. You know, old as I am, Lord, no. And by the time they get 10, I'd be 90 years old. But after Hagar had his son Ishmael, Sarah decided that her slave and son had to leave. You see how people do? People are really mean. God heard Ishmael crying. God came to Hagar and promised he would bless Ishmael. It don't matter what they say or what they did to him. He said, I'm still going to bless you. You see, Hagar and Ishmael experienced rejection and injustice, just like we're facing today. But God would not allow the conflicts in Abraham's house to stop. His acts of justice to those who have been displaced and dispossessed was something else. You know, Abraham was a righteous man. He was good to everybody, right? You know, God said he was the father of our many nations, right? So as we continue in the lesson, we pick up where Hagar and Ishmael has left Abraham's home, right? We're going on down the road. Hagar and her son Ishmael wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. It's a desert place out there. And you know, that's hard times when you get out there and you really don't know where you're going. All you know is that you have to go. So you see, they had very little food and water, and soon the water ran out and also the food. And Hagar thought that they would both die. Now, before they left, you know, Abraham's a good man, right? He gave them a little bit of food, bread and water, but that wasn't going to be enough for them, you know, for the trip that they were on. So Hagar was grieving in anticipation that her son was going to die.
All right.
Now, I don't know about you. I've had one of my children die. I had a son to die. And you're talking about grievance? It still grieves me. And I can imagine Hagar thinking, saying, I'm going to have to watch my son die. We both don't die, but I'm going to have to watch him die. So that was a real big deal on her part. So God heard Ishmael's voice crying for help, and the angel spoke to Hagar from heaven. You see how God works?
All right.
He'll make something out of nothing. Huh? God told Hagar to hold the boy by his hand. God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well of water that she used to fill up her container that she was carrying, right? God really worked in mysterious ways. If we let him. If we try to help him, it ain't gonna work. You see, God always keep his promise. God blessed Ishmael to be the father of a great nation. He had already told him that. He had told Abraham that, right? He lived in the wilderness of Paran, and he became an expert bowsman. He could shoot that arrow just as straight as he wanted. So Hagar became the first single mother mentioned in the Bible. Now, this story, you know what this story does? It teaches us that God calls people to function in different roles. We all got a role to play in life here, whether you know it or not, or whether you believe it or not. Some of us know what our role is. Some of us don't. All we got to do is ask. Ask God, what is my role here in life? The roles we have been placed into do not necessarily conform to our own worldviews. You know, everybody's got an opinion, right? Huh? Everybody's got an opinion. A lot of us think our opinion is right, and some of us think they're wrong. So Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar learned that God is not controlled by the worldview of people. He don't work that way. God called Abraham to leave that with which he was so familiar with. You know, when we get too comfortable in life, God will move you. He'll get you where you don't sit up and just be one of those Christians just sit on the seat. So God took Abraham to a distant and unknown land so Abraham would grow his faith in God. You see how God worked with people? With a ye of little faith. If you ain't got a whole lot of faith, he'll help you get some. Just keep living along. You're gonna go through all those trials and tribulation that the world has. You know, Satan, he don't he don't want you to have a good life. He'll lie to you and say, "Oh yeah, you can have anything you want. I'll give it to you. Just come on my side." But once you accept that from the devil, you lost. You are lost, and some of us can't get back to where we should be. So Abraham trusted God, and God declared him righteous because of his faith. Now, as we close, the circumstances in our life may change, right? But life circumstances does not stop God from keeping his promise. You know, we as humans, we tend to, we can holler all we want about, hey, I promise I'm going to do this for you, Brother Walker. Pastor, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come to church every Sunday. Starting the first of the year. What we say about the New Year's resolution? I'm going to be to church every day, Pastor. Every Sunday. God knows that you are not telling the truth. Because he knows you're going to have circumstances. Now, me personally, when I do miss church, I feel guilty. I really do. Because that little bit of whatever it is tugs at my heart to say, you should have been there. You should have been in church serving our God. But a lot of us don't even care. They're up washing their cars and trucks and boats and going fishing and playing golf. You know, and I've often wondered, why nothing don't happen to them people? Huh? Now, if I get out there trying to do that and going golf and washing trucks and cars, something never gonna happen to me. And I know it, because I know I'm wrong in what I'm doing. That's why God gives us a sense of right and wrong. So Hagar found herself living alone with her son. God continued to be with Ishmael even though he had experienced significant changes in his life. You know, God don't give up on you. You give up on yourself. You see, God's love and his justice and mercy were given for all people regardless of human opinion, cultural practices, and their worldviews. So, if you don't have faith in God, you're useless. You're not doing anybody any good or even trying to help. So I say this day that for me and my house, I'll serve the Lord. Thank you.